Welcome back to Romany's Realm. I'm Romany, and today we're doing the second part of One Book July 2016 version 2 project planning. Last week we looked at getting our project straight in our heads. So we did a brain dump of everything we were thinking that we could do for our project or that we might like to enclose within the project. Next, we broke that down into a series of goals, 3 to 5 goals that would encapsulate all of these different ideas. And then we picked a priority for each section. And now I'm doing a finance planner for both work and personal. So I chose a priority for work and personal. And these are what's going to keep you going, something that's going to keep you on track with your project. So over the week, I've been thinking about these different ideas and coming up with ruminating on different ways of doing things. Now, some of you will have done this in your heads like I have, or some of you may have written it down. However, whatever works for you. Once you've got your basic outline, you just want to think about how you're going to proceed. And of course, the first thing you're going to do is head for Pinterest and look for suitable inserts for your paper planner, because that's how you get organised. No! Sorry to burst your bubble, but Pinterest is not the place to start, okay? Pinterest, when you're project planning, is your last resort. It's not your first stop. Your first stop for completing a project or moving through a project is to start with what you've already got. Pinterest is for later, when you've got a gap and you need to fill it. Okay? Stay away from Pinterest, because we all know that Pinterest and YouTube are the same. You start off looking for a really good resource to show you what you need, and 4 hours later you're learning how to speak giraffe and pinning pictures of cuddly penguins. We're going to look at this again and say, well, what do we have at our disposal that we can use in our project? Okay, so resources is what we're looking at. Notice that as yet, we're on week 2, we haven't started our project yet. I am not a believer in diving into a project. I believe in planning a project first and then diving into it. Otherwise, I get in a mess. I could have set up my finance planner last week if I wanted to and just gone for it. But I can guarantee you, if I had, I wouldn't be doing anything on it this week. Resources. Resources I have. So I'm just going to do this off the top of my head. What do I already have? And the kind of thing that you want to include are obviously paper planning bits and pieces. I actually have the printouts of Ray's expenses envelopes that he uses over on My Life All in One Place. So printouts for receipts. I've already got some of those, but I'll need more. But I can deal with that when I come to it. I've got Tracy. Don't forget to include people as part of your resources. If you're cleaning out your garage and you need an extra pair of hands, put the kids to work. Why not? Get them to sort out things that they can do, like the pet area, or if they've got their own area or their own boxes, get them to sort out their own boxes and get rid of things they don't need. Get them to help with the recycling and bits and pieces like that. If they're old enough to not injure themselves, they're old enough to give you a hand. Or maybe put them doing things in the house. Just get them dusting and hoovering and little bits and pieces that they can handle so that you can deal with the stuff in the garage. I'm using that as an example. It sounds like slave labour, but you know what I mean. I've got Tracy. Tracy does my accounts. Tracy does my admin. Tracy is much better at it than I am. So I can use Tracy as a resource because I can set up the basic stuff and the basic organisation, and she can carry on with it from there and make sure it's right. So I've got lots of different ways I can use Tracy as part of my resources. I've already got my Filofax A5, which is what I plan to use. As you go through writing down your resources, you'll start to think of other things that you can use. So I started out thinking paper. Paper and people. I've got printouts, I've got my Filofax, I've got my spreadsheet on the computer that I use, which I can print out, and Tracy can have the original and I can use the printouts. I do have knowledge of accounting. I don't like doing accounting, but I've got knowledge of it. But as part of that, I've also got things like online banking and online receipts, which will be useful because, you know, do I need, therefore, to plan my personal finances on paper because I've got online banking, or could I do it in another way? So, for instance, my bank, and I only remembered this because it's just sent me a text. Every week, my bank sends me a text telling me what my bank balance is and what my last transactions were. So, can I look at setting that up on a daily basis or on a specific day so that I know from week to week exactly how much is in my account, you know, that kind of thing. And then from there, I was like, well, other online resources I've got, Tracy and I use Evernote to organise admin, so maybe I can organise online receipts in there as well. So when I spend something out of PayPal, or I get an Amazon receipt or anything like that that's an online receipt, instead of printing it out and putting it on paper where I could lose it, I could file it away in Evernote so that Tracy's got the information there online, so that going forward my job doesn't have to be printing out and filing and writing down bits of paper that I will lose. It can just be making sure that I file it in the right place in Evernote so that Tracy's got the information to record it. Okay? These are just ideas I'm throwing out as they come up. On top of that, don't forget other bits of technology you've got, like I've got my phone, which I use all the time. If you're not a phone addict, that might not be useful for you, but I use my phone all the time. So I've got my phone and all the apps on it, plus I've found a new spending app that I can look at, which is a personal spending app, but I can also use it for work. So that could be a way of double checking accounts. Because what I want to be able to do is for Tracy to do the main sorting and organising and making sure everything's up to date, but for me to have a counter way of doing it from the spending and purchasing side, so that in the two we can do accounts balancing. What else have we got? Organising, updating, tracking. Yep, that's pretty much all set up in there. What I've also got, which I've just seen, paying off credit card and saving. I also have at my disposal an ISA, which is a 28-day ISA, so I only need 28 days written notice to withdraw money from it. I will have to look up the maximum on that one because I'm not sure how much it is. And I've also got a web saver. Now that's part of my banking, and it is literally just an online dumping account. It's like having a current account online, but you can't do anything with it except move money from one account to the other. So I've got my current account and I've got a web saver. If I'm thinking, well, I need to put some money aside for next week for paying the internet bill, I can put that aside into my web saver with a little note, you know, £15 into my web saver. This is for my internet payment on the 14th. For example, I could use it like that and then have the money in my web saver, and then all I've got to do is transfer it back to my current account and pay the bill. I do all my banking and all my bill payments online. So that's another plus I've got. I've got online bill payments. The only payments I make that aren't online are my gas and electric. Now, my gas and electric are on cards because they're unmetered, but I've just seen a company the other day that was advertising for a new option to do your electricity and gas through them and do it online. So I will look into that. Is that something I could do? And then everything I do is online and I no longer have to keep walking to the shop and paying it in cash, which is a pain in the backside when there's no cash machine. So I have to plan so far ahead that when I go into town, I have to know that I need to get enough money out to put on the gas and electric to last me until the next time I go into town, which could be next week or it could be in a month. Yeah, it's not easy to budget. I don't like dealing in cash. I do everything on my cards. A few people have suggested to me, why don't you use the cash payment system where you take all your money out and you put it in cash? Doing cash transactions is a big thing in America, and I notice it's nearly all Americans suggesting it. I don't deal with cash. The only cash I have on me is, odd bits and pieces where I've got a $5 out to go and get a Starbucks and I come back with a bit of change or something like that. I really don't have cash on me. I even buy my bus tickets online. So, cash is something that I get out for a specific purpose. It's not something I draw my cash out and I split it up into whatever it needs to be, because I pay for things on a weekly basis, so it doesn't really work for me like that. I'm sure it probably works if you get a monthly salary and you know exactly how much most of your bills are going to be, but mine are so varied and so is my income that I just can't work like that. I can't. I work on a card basis only. So the resources I have, I will probably think of some more. Let's look at my goals. So easy tracking in and out for both work and personal. Well, I think I've got that covered with online banking, receipts and payments, phone apps, Evernote. I'm sure between all of it, I can handle that. Move current debts to future savings. Well, I may be able to use my ISA and my WebSaver for that, to save up an amount of money to pay onto my cards and to save up for my car. Knowing your financial boundaries and making them visual. Now that I need to look at. Resources I need. So making financial boundaries visual. Now by visual I don't necessarily mean pretty, I mean easy to see. So for instance, I would count visual my text that I get from my bank on my phone telling me how much money I've got. I would count that as a visual because it comes in and I see it. It's not something I have to go looking for, it's there, it's in my face. So I need to make my financial boundaries visual. I need to see savings. Okay, so an idea for making financial boundaries visual: phone texts, separate business, personal and organise both. Oh yes, I want to separate out my accounts. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do that. That might be something I need to do later on down the road, because at the moment I don't have the flexibility to do this. But yeah, I think that's something I can look at further down the road, and I can keep in mind that perhaps make sure that all my business stuff goes on one and all my bill payments and things for personal go on the other, but other purchases might have to go on one or the other depending on which I have money on. I don't know. I'm going to have to, like I say, think about that later. Simple, focused and not time consuming. Well, for me, if I do it on the computer, it's not going to be time consuming, it's going to be easy and it's going to be focused, because in my other life, between studying accountancy and being self-employed, I used to teach computer science. So I'm a bit of a whiz with Excel, and I'm pretty sure I can set up I've already got a spreadsheet set up, but I'm pretty sure I can set it up so that it's even easier and separates things up better. I already know there's a few tweaks that I want to do. I've got my spreadsheet written down and I need to revise it, so I've written that next to it. Simple, focused and not time consuming. I think that's all of it together. If I had taken this and gone straight to Pinterest to go and look for what I needed, I would have ignored the fact that I've already got most of what I need already. So now that I know I've got enough resources already to sort out, I would say at least 50% of this list, if not more, and I only have a little bit that I still need to look at, which, you know, savings I can't do until I've paid off my credit card. I could set it up, but I don't really want to start it until I've paid off my credit card. Visualising my financial boundaries I can't really do until I know what my boundaries are. And separating my accounts I can't do until I have enough flexibility to do it. So these I can leave till later. So now I know what I've got to work with and what I want to work towards, I can make a task list. And it's simply a case of matching up the resources you've got with what you're trying to achieve and say, right, this is what I need to do. Easy tracking in and out, move current debts, financial, right, I'm going to work off both lists. Organising paperwork. So work and personal. I'm doing work and personal, so I'm going to cross that off. I've already got that covered. Organise paperwork. So organise paperwork. Organise existing paperwork into Filofax A5. So that's that one. Organise receipts comes under that as well. Organise receipts into Filofax A5, and that's using my printouts. So those will be used for that, and so will my A5 Filofax. New spreadsheet for the various different things that I need to do, plus tracking sales, cost of sales and profit and loss. So that will be my spreadsheet. So I'm going to put rejig. To me that means take the existing spreadsheet and shuffle it around a bit till it works. So rejig current spreadsheet for all the different people that I have to have it ready for, and clarify sales, cost of sales, profit and loss. Because although it's on there, it's not easy to immediately see which is which. So that's tracking sales, cost of sales and profit and loss, new spreadsheet. And that also will follow business in and out. So track, it already does this, but I'll put it on here anyway. Track sales and purchases more accurately. My sales and purchases are actually quite organised, but since I'm looking at my spreadsheet and rejigging it anyway, I might as well just take another look at this and say, is it accurate? Is it doing the right thing? Is it doing what I need it to do? Once I've done that, organised my existing paperwork and receipts, rejigged my spreadsheet and tracked my sales and purchases more accurately, I can then do my data input for April to July 2016. which is here, set up April, May, June, July 2016, which will give me up-to-date estimates. Simplify tracking earnings. I can do that as part of my spreadsheet as well. So tracking sales purchases more accurately. Simplify earnings, I'll put that in there. Because obviously simplifying my earnings was something I thought that I needed to do. So I'll look at that when I come to do the spreadsheet. Easy to update. Well, hopefully once it's on the computer it will be. Preempt Sales. Now that comes under what resources I need to do. So Preempt Sales. Now I can't do preempting sales until I've got historical data to work with. So that's something I can put to work on later. But I can start by putting some historical data in by finishing off last year's accounts. So that's got to be done by the end of the month. So I can do a trial run on new spreadsheet with 2015 to 16 data, and I will put by end July because that then becomes a priority. So now I know that the first thing I need to do is sort out my spreadsheet. Again, I could have pulled out my Filofax and started organising bits of paper, but actually what I need to do is rejig my spreadsheet first so that I can do a trial run and get last year's account sorted out and finalised. They're not actually due until January, but for various reasons I have to do them in July. So that sorts that out. I can do it as a trial run, so then I can look at it and see if there's any additional changes I want to make for this year's accounts. Once all that's done, I can organise for Tracy. And what we'll need to do is to sit down together and say, right, this is what I've got, this is what I've organised, how do you want to work? How do I work best? And, you know, see between us how we want to set it up, because there's zero point in me setting up a system that won't work for her. No point at all. But this is for me. So, you know, what she gets from this or what she needs from this, she might just want the spreadsheet and the receipts, or she might just want the spreadsheet, or she might want to double check something, or, you know, whatever. So I've got my spreadsheet there, and we've just done Tracy. My knowledge of accounts, I would use that for my spreadsheet. And all the rest of my resources are Evernote, Organise for TJ and Evernote, because we work on Evernote. That's how we transfer information. All my other resources are personal. So I've got my online banking, my online receipts, my phone and my apps, my Spender app that I found for personal, my ISA and my web saver, my bill payments and my gas and electric. That's all personal. So this is all work. So this is my work tasks. And now I can do my personal tasks. So is there anything on here that is still organising for Tracy? Easily managed taxes, that's what the spreadsheet is for. So preempting sales, that is, I will put an arrow on that one because that's something I can't do yet. Saving for a car, that's something I can't do yet. Know how much I have or owe, that I can do when I do my personal. Paying off my credit card is something I want to work on as my personal. Put money aside for emergencies, I can start doing that. That's what my credit card is for, that's why I'm paying off my credit card. Organise bills and payments, I can do that. Weekly personal budget and monthly, easy to update. So I think we've got Easy to update is going to cover both, so I won't tick that off yet. So this I need to, the first thing I need to do is organise a weekly personal budget. So organise bills and online payments so that I know what's going out. Look into online gas and electric payments, which will make life so much easier for me and get rid of cash altogether. And so organise bills and payments, know how much I have and owe. That'll be tracking. I can do one but not the other at the moment, because I can track how much I owe on here. Do I need a spreadsheet or paper? That's something I need to decide. Do I want to do my work on the computer and my personal banking on paper, or do I want it all on the computer? And then once I've got that information, I can do a weekly or monthly budget for my personal finances. Paying off the credit card once I know how much I've got coming in and out. Plan for paying off credit card. Track CC spending, that'll be the same thing because that'll be part of the spreadsheet, so I'll write that on there. Spreadsheet. I'm saying spreadsheet just because that's what I call it. It could be a paper spread, it could be paper planning, but if I say spreadsheet, I know what I mean. So plan for paying off my credit card, which will involve tracking spending and payments. So for that, I'm going to use my online banking, my online receipts, possibly my phone apps, my bill payments online, and my gas and electric transfer I need to look into. What am I left with? Tracking spending. I think that will be encapsulated within all of this, but we'll make sure that it is. Put money aside for emergencies. I can't do that yet until I've started paying off my credit card, so I'll put that as a forward. That's all in here now. So preempt sales, save for a car, savings, car, and emergencies. Pay off credit card is something I can work on once I've got everything else up to date. That will make everything easy to update. So have I covered everything? Easy tracking in and out for work and personal. Once I've got these done, yes, I think that will be covered. Move current debts to future savings. I've got, yeah, I want to preempt my sales, separate my accounts, be able to visualize my savings and pay off my credit card, which will have the knock-on effect of moving one to the other. Know my financial boundaries and make them visual. I've got that written on here as something to look into. Separate business and personal and organise both. Well, organising both, that's here. Separating them, that's there as well. So I've got that covered. And simple, focused and not time consuming. Well, that's something I'll have to find out once I've got this set up. So now I know what I want to achieve, what I have to achieve it, what I'm going to need to find to achieve the next section, and a list of tasks for my work and my personal to get on with. So over the next week, I'm going to start working on these, and next week we'll move on to the next part of the project. That doesn't mean that I have to have all of these done by next week, but I want to get a good section of them done to be able to say, well, now I've got it working, what am I going to do next? So join me next week for part 3. Thanks for watching. Bye.